last 5 sessions. And I believe you had a wonderful journey of learning, understanding blockchain. With Mayank sir, he is so much experienced into it, driving the initial 2 to 3 sessions, and then my colleague Ruchika and Shikha, both yesterday and today, they were they were taking you through a lot of these contents, a lot of these topics, and I really saw a good feedback from you, good response from you in terms of learning those contents, right? So as Ruchika yesterday focused about the basics of Hyperledger Fabric, the Linux Foundation, a project, and all that. Shikha sort of, took you through a more hands-on approach of how do you get your hands dirty with the code, how do you really use this, code, how do you use the fabric. So she basically got you into that, right? Now, in my session today, I will try to take you through a different route. I will try to make you think about the use cases where people have been using blockchain, fabric particularly, for that matter, why you should or where you should use a blockchain as a technology. What are the already live use cases, live solutions which are out there in the market? That's what I intend to take you through, right? And yeah, and during that course of learning, we'll also get to understand a lot of what's happening in the market as well, right? Okay, so my name is Mani Madhukar, and I'm part of University Relations team at IBM. You see those two links there. I will try to give you an insight about these links as well. For now, you can just capture a screenshot, or maybe you can take a picture so that you remember those links. These are really good links from your point of view for learning. I'll elaborate on those in due course of time. Okay. So let's try and understand, why are we having this all discussion about blockchain for last 2.5 days, right? And I'm sure most of you understand. Uh, if you see the Gartner's, the report, latest report, and even the report which has been there coming from for last 2 years, you'll find blockchain figuring in the top 10 technologies. That means for you are a stakeholder there, right? Academic fraternity is a stakeholder there. What you teach your students, what you actually educate them on, when they come to the job market, they utilize normally those skills. And it's very imperative for you to educate them about blockchain, about ML, about AR, about all these emerging technologies, right? So you basically give them a good drill down about the basics, or the foundation courses, as you say, but then you definitely need to have this icing on the cake in terms of all these emerging technologies, because this is very essential today in order to succeed in the market. So that's why if you read the reports of various Government of India reports, or Niti Aayog reports, you'll find blockchain is a key technology enabler in a lot of government projects today, right? Banking is adopted to blockchain in big time. Insurance industry has adopted to blockchain big time, and hence you definitely need to learn. Today there was a news. I'm not sure if you have gone through that, but today there was a news about. So not all of us take insurance, right? User insurance, driver insurance, or vehicle insurance, and all that, right? So there was a news there was today, which was being discussed almost like 2 years back, but then now that's a live solution. That normally today, when you go and you buy an insurance, for a complete year, right? Irrespective whether you are driving your vehicle or you're not driving your vehicle, you're paying the entire insurance for the complete year. Similarly, whether you are driving the car, maybe for 1 day or maybe for entire year, you are again paying the entire premium for your insurance. So what this solution is all about is uh, you will be given insurance policy dynamically only for the duration that you are driving a car. So for example, for last 3-4 months, the car was not being driven, right? Because of all this, pandemic, COVID pandemic, everything was in lockdown. Nobody was able to drive their cars, right? Why had I to pay for those 4 months when my car was not on the road? There was no point, right? But then there was no such provision so far wherein I could have that sort of a flexibility. Not from this month onwards, one of these insurance providers have come up with a solution wherein the moment you bring your car on the road, you're driving your vehicle, you get a dynamic insurance, maybe for a day, for 2 day, for a week, the way you want it to be, right? And in case you only drive few times in a year, or maybe the car remains parked for a while because you're using a company conveyance, or you're maybe out of country, out of city, you need not have the insurance. So that way it's really very dynamically priced model, right? So see, this use case never ever could have thought, anybody could have thought of, but then this is right now there, and it is right now being powered by blockchain, right? And so many other such use cases are there. Maybe we can talk about it in due course of time, right? So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about examples. We'll also try to touch upon integration patterns, though we'll not dig upon this later, too much of this, okay? This is just a recap about what you have already been, studying for last 2.5 days. I just will recap it. No, I'll not talk about this. So normally blockchains is more focused upon businesses, right? Where there are multiple partners, multiple business network partners in a business, right? You've got partner A, B, C, D, multiple entities doing businesses with each other, right? And then this is a typical conventional, solution in current scenario where you have all the participants having their information in silos, right? So participant A will have his own ledger, B, C, D have their own individual ledgers. And the problem that they today face is, they all are very inconsistent, right? So I give this example all the time, and I'll give it again, right? Why do we need blockchains for that matter? Or what value is blockchain adding? So let's say participant A is uh, is a is a fruit vendor, okay? Participant B is a food supplier, just for the sake of understanding. And then we have all these bank, insurer, regulator, auditor. Let them be there for the sake of them. Now, what happens is the fruit vendor, when he has placed the order with the fruit merchant, with the fruit producer, or let's say some orchard somewhere in Kashmir, he basically gave them some 10% of the money, right, as a token money, to ensure that he gets the supply, right? So what will happen is the participants A bank record will show. So if we're talking about today at 2:15 p.m., the 1st of July, the snapshot of the overall system. So today at 2:15 p.m., participant A has paid that 10,000 rupees to participant B. So his bank account shows that. Whereas if you see from a participant B's point of view, those 10,000 rupees haven't yet been credited to his account. They have not been deposited to his account yet, because there is a certain amount of time which the bank takes for settlement, right? So despite A's record says that A has already paid, B's record does not say that any money has been received from A. So there is a disparity. There is a clear disparity between what is recorded with A versus what is recorded with B. And think about this as a supply chain network where there may be tens and tens of hundreds of suppliers in the system. There will be so many transporters in the system. There may be so many other agencies in the system, and all of them will have their own data, or ledgers, or record system of records, and they will all be in disparate states. So the point I'm trying to make is this conventional system of doing business is so much more vulnerable, so inefficient, and of course expensive to deal with, which gives a right, so many conflicts get arise because of this. And what we replaced with that is a more, blockchain-oriented approach where we talk about a shared replicated permission ledger with all consensus, provenance, immutability, and finality. You are all aware of this, so I'll not dig into this. But what point I really wanted to make to you was how is blockchain really adding a lot of value in terms of doing the business in a lot more transparent way. The moment you bring in more transparency, trust enthuses. There's an inherent trust which comes into because of the technology. For example, if I have to ask Meng, sir, can you give me 1 crore rupees, to, so let's say, he got some 1 CR of rupees from somewhere. And I ask him, can you give it to me? I'll keep it safely with me. So maybe he'll not, right? He better go to some bank and deposit that money, right? Because he trusts a bank more than he would trust me, right? So despite all my honest intention, he will not give it to me. So the point I'm trying to make is, that trust element is basically provided by the technology, in this case, blockchain, and hence the businesses are able to do better business in, with minimized friction, which really helps in actually expanding the scope of the business a lot better, right? Okay, why IBM, right? If you see all those reports from Gartner, again, I would request you to really go and have a look at these reports in maybe a few months, because these reports really help you in keeping what is happening in the technology world, right? So you'll find that IBM is, the leader in the enterprise blockchain technology scenario. And why are we leaders? Because we have the most number of enterprise clients, owing to be more than 100 years plus organization, rather the only IT organization which is 100 years plus. We have so many enterprise customers. We have got so many enterprise use cases that we have played with in last over a century and more, that it brings in a lot of value to our clients. All those learnings that we have accumulated in 100 plus years, we bring all that to the table, and hence we are a lot more successful in that space. So whenever you see IBM, you will not see IBM in a B2C space. You'll see more of IBM in the B2B space, right? Okay, so yeah, so that's the reason why IBM is more suited to provide or help organizations when it comes to creating solutions for them for enterprise blockchain adoption. Okay, we'll understand more about it, right? But these are the few reasons. Today, what happens today is, whenever there is something that you want to develop on, the first thing that comes to the mind is, let's implement it with blockchain, right? So there is this couple of slides that I've adopted from the World Economic Forum, which basically talks about why and where should we be using a blockchain, right? Why is blockchain, or where is blockchain a good technology to fit in, right? So let's try and understand those characteristics. I saw a question in the previous session. Somebody was talking about what are the technical parameters one should really use a blockchain for. And in my previous role, in IBM, only when I was working with the startups across the country for adoption of blockchain, the basic default answer whenever somebody wanted to, adopt to blockchain, I used to say no. No, as in, let's first explore the other mature technologies which are already there. Once we exhaust those options, then only we say, yes, let's consider blockchain as a possible technology. So blockchain should not be a de facto standard or a default choice of technology, right? At the same time, we should try and understand what are the characteristics for a high potential use case for a blockchain, right? Whenever there is a shared repository, whenever there is information sharing between multiple parties, you remember that infograph where there were participant A, B, C, D, the insurance, the bank, and all that. Wherever there are multiple people who are sharing some information, yes, blockchain can be a possible use technology there. Whenever there are more than one people who are writing on that shared repository that need modifications, say ledger in that case. So in a blockchain based network, we had a shared ledger, everybody writing on the same ledger. So when there are multiple writers on the same data, on the same copy, then yes, blockchain can be considered as a technology. Whenever there is a certain level of mistrust which exists between entities. Now see, well, try and understand point. Whatever discussion has been happening yesterday, today, we are all talking about private permissioned blockchains. We are not talking about public anonymous permissionless blockchains. Okay, so there is a clear distinction between the two. So we are talking about private permissioned blockchain. So yeah, so normally when you do business, you know whom you are doing a business. You would know your business partner, right? You're buying something from X, or you're selling something to Y. You would know that X or Y, right? You would not do that anonymously, right? So businesses don't work like that. So whenever that's the case, that means there is some amount of trust, but then there is a lot of mistrust as well, because you don't know the other party, right? But then you know that at least the identity there, right? And this is a very important piece. Whenever there are intermediaries, there are multiple gatekeepers there in the system which you are trying to address, yes, blockchain can be a good fitment. For example, I'm not sure, but if you, in case you know, for a cross-border payment settlement, there is something called a SWIFT code, right? Each time you have to make a payment to somebody in some place in US or North America, or Russia or someplace, you need that SWIFT code, in order to make that transaction. Now, SWIFT, it's just like an aggregator. It's just basically about providing you with that, transaction code to facilitate the settlement, right? So what happens is, the moment you have to pay somebody, let's say in US, let's say $200, there is some amount of transaction fee that you happen to pay at this site, to whosoever is the gatekeeper, maybe SBI or RBI, in terms of some settlement cost. Similarly, at the other side, you'll pay some amount of transaction fee, which is almost like 7 to 8% of the overall value of the transaction. $200, you will have 8% plus 8%, almost like 14 to 15% being paid as a transaction cost. So whenever there are intermediaries in the system, so SWIFT actually, generates billions of dollars as revenue in every year. And that's got, that's basically coming from people like you and me who are basically trying to send some money. So when you are sending that $2,000, you are basically paying some 15% of as overall money in the form of transaction fee at different places. And it's not instantaneous. That's the worst point, right? It takes some 2 to 3, even more time at some, during sometimes, it'll take even more than those days. And the entire system is very opaque. It's not transparent at all. You'll not know that which stage the transaction is right now. So there are multiple, intermediaries or like those. There, you would definitely like to have blockchain as a technology. And of course, whenever there are transaction dependencies, yes, then you will definitely, consider blockchain as a. So these are a few characteristics that are, one should identify whenever you're talking about this, right? This is another way of, putting this entire piece together. One more important point to note here is whenever you're talking about business within an organization, for example, there was a use case which came from Muthoot Finance, right? So Muthoot has thousands of branches across India, and they wanted to, actually utilize blockchain as a platform for settlement between these multiple branches. But no, that's not an apt, appropriate mechanism. Normally, blockchain is only, feasible or it's advisable when you've got different organizations, different parties doing businesses with each other, not within the same organization. You can have so many other alternate technologies to do that settlement. You don't need the blockchain because, as Shika was talking about, blockchain comes with its own overheads, right? So it has got its own limitations. It has got its own constraints as of now, right? So you need to take that factor into the consideration whenever you are devising a, a solution for some enterprise. Okay. Okay, I'll skip through a few slides, right? So let's try and understand more about this. What does blockchain as a technology brings to us? Okay, what features, what benefits? Because you should know, right? In case I am using a SQL server, why SQL server? Why not MS Excel? Or why Java for programming I'm using for a particular solution? Why not .NET, right? Why not C Sharp? So that understanding has to be there, right? So in case you are trying to use blockchain, what is the value that blockchain is providing to you, right? So these are a couple of things that you can look forward to. Guys on the call who are not, can you please mute yourself? I can hear a few voices. Okay, so what are those value, right? Value drivers, or the benefits that you achieve out of putting a solution using a blockchain technology. One, operational simplification, right? Because as we just talked about, the how should I explain to you? So in the conventional business where people were managing their own sort of system of records, the ledgers, here we are talking about one shared replicated ledger across all the different business network participants, and which are replicated in real time. So whenever there is a transaction happening which is getting added to the ledger, the same is being written in almost real time. I'm saying almost real time, I'm not saying in real times, right? So there's a difference in two. So that means the reconciliation is happening almost real time, not like T+3 or T+4, which normally our banking system does, right? And hence it is very easy to resolve disputes because everybody has the same copy of the ledger. So everybody has the same view of the transaction at all points in time, right? So even the money is debited from the fruit vendor's account, and it may not have been, and it's credited to the supplier's account in almost real time. So both of them get a view of whenever the transaction is happening, whenever the account is being debited, whenever the account is being credited. All of them get a notification of what is happening in the overall blockchain network, right? So that's one good piece why what brings a lot of value to it. I guess Ruchika also talked about this yesterday when she was talking about how it is there is a natural audit trail which is built in whatever whosoever is doing on a blockchain network. So there is a natural audit trail which is enabled, right, which provides for a lot of real-time monitoring, and hence all those compliances and checks and balances which the regulator wants to put in are naturally put in the place. So a blockchain based system is naturally compliant. You do not need to put in additional measures for compliance. I'm sure all of you are into administration as well, other than teaching. And there are a lot of these compliance checks that you have to adhere to, right? Which needs some special, focus, which needs some additional effort from your end, right? Be it compiling the registers, be it compiling the course book, or whatever, right? That's all compliance, right? Here with the blockchain-based solution, that compliance is auto built in, that is taken care of. Of course, the risk is is highly reduced because everything is on a blockchain-based network. It is everybody has a view of it. It's a lot more transparent. It's immutable environment, so nobody can fudge, manipulate the data in any way. So yeah, of course, it's a lot of risk reduction there. Settlement is really happening in almost real time. I give this example all the time. Let me give you another, one of these. So let's say Vivud has a birthday coming up, right? And he wants to invite maybe all of us for a grand party, maybe in person in case COVID is not there, right? So he wants to, invite all 230 to 40 plus people who are there on this call for his birthday party. And let's say, he has a budget marked for that. He has kept some 10 lakh rupees only for this birthday party of his. And what has happened is he has some 2 lakh rupees of cash in his account, and he has some 8 lakh rupees or maybe another 10 lakh rupees of a demand draft or a check that he has, for his birthday celebrations. Now the problem is, the moment his check, unless goes to the bank and gets cleared, is of no use. Despite having a check of 10 lakhs, unless it is credited in his account, he will not be able to use those 10 lakh of rupees, right? So, and if he deposits this today, maybe the bank will take another 3 to 4 days in terms of realization of the check, and by the time the amount gets credited to his account, right? So, if his birthday is day after tomorrow, and he has a check with, which will be reflecting in his account maybe on Monday, so he'll not be able to throw that party in those 2 lakh of rupees, right? In case he is looking to get a chartered Boeing for you somewhere, waiting for you in Rishikesh, that Jolly Grant airport, so that he can fly you all to Macau and he can even give you a lavish party there, right? So my point I'm trying to make is, so settlement time, clearing time is a lot more reduced. Now businesses are normally done with money, right? So if the money is stuck, and think about from a business point of view on a daily basis, there are billions of dollars which are stuck in this banking system, because banking system takes their own sweet time in clearing, right? T+3, T+4, whatever. Had that much more liquidity been there in the system, more business could have been done by that money, right? So of course, it really improves that liquidity and the capital big time because of these blockchain-based systems, because they are doing a almost real-time settlement of the transaction. And yes, of course, the fraud is minimized because we have a single source of truth, and it really infuses a lot of trust between all these network participants. Shikha was giving this example of this donations, right? And all of us today, in last at least 4 to 5 months, what I have observed is we have become a lot more giving. We have become a lot more empathetical, right, in terms of caring for people around us, which was not the case. Let me say that on a record, that I feel that people have become a lot more caring, a lot more giving in last 4 5 months because of whatever COVID has shown us. Now, each time somebody asks you for a request, I need some money, and you really feel like giving that person the money, right, for some good cause. And even you put your hand in your pocket, but the next thing that comes to your mind is, what if this money is not being used for the rightful purpose? What if this money is being used for, people get money and they use that money for so many nuisance, nonsense reasons. They would use it for their own benefit rather than using it for society at large or for particular cause, right? So had that been the case, right? Okay, I'll give you one statistics. India, or rather Indians, are the #1 givers in the world ahead of US and China. We are so much more concerned about giving. On a daily basis, we give almost like 37,000 crore of rupees. It's a statistics which is based upon research by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, couple of Indian agencies and all. So on a daily basis, Indians give something like 37,000 crore rupees, right? And out of that 37,000 crore rupees, only 33,000 crores is basically given in form for informal giving, informal in the sense which has no record. So somebody asked me for money, I need some help, I'll just give it away to him. You're going to a charity, you'll give some money there. You're going to a religious place, you will give out some money there. So that is that informal giving. Compared to that, it's only 10%, almost like 3,000 CR, which is given as a formal giving, which is documented giving. Why? Because we do not trust the people there, right, whom we are giving money, and hence we feel more comfortable giving it to the people whom we really feel like they're deserving, right? So think about that formal giving in terms of PM cares or CM cares or all those funds which are there. We normally do not contribute much to it, right, compared to what we usually give people. The reason is we do not trust how will that money be being put to use, right? And so that's what and that's the reason why so many crowdfunding platforms are today powered by blockchain, so that the givers can have the benefit, or they can have the trust that their money will be put to good use, and they will have a clear audit trail where the money is being utilized, what reasons it's being utilized, who is consuming that money, and that's the reason. So a lot of fraud minimization because of adoption of blockchain, right? Okay, so what I'll do is I'll take a quick pause here, and in case you have any questions so far, let me try and address those, and then I will go and further about a few more things. So let me take a pause here, and let's try and understand any questions so far. You can put your questions on chat, you can unmute, you can ask.
Sir, myself Barkha.
Yeah, ma'am.
I have one question. That how we'll know that the money we are donating will be used in the proper cause or something with the help of blockchain?
Were you there as a part in the previous session, Burkha?
Yes, but
Okay. Go ahead. You were saying something.
actually, see, blockchain we are using, but if somebody writes something wrong, so there is no provision, na? See,
No,
if
so nobody
while
can write anything wrong. That's the beauty here. Let me quickly go back to this deck. Okay. So in a blockchain, let's talk about this. I guess you haven't understood this piece then. So let's say these are various people on this network, right? Maybe you can also be a one who is committing some funds. B is somebody who is utilizing that funds, or maybe there is an auditor like CAG or somebody who is taking care of how this funding is being utilized. So let's try and understand how this works. Uh, so everybody has a copy of the ledger. It says shared replicated permission ledger. So participant A, B, bank, insurer, everybody has the same copy of the ledger. Okay. So let me take back the same example of fruit vendor and fruit orchard owner. So the fruit vendor paid 10,000 rupees to participant B, who is basically owning an orchard somewhere in Himachal. So the moment he put that 10,000 rupees, he basically will update that entry in the ledger, the ledger. Okay. He can only update that entry in the ledger after getting consensus from all the other people. I'm saying all the other for the sake of ease. Otherwise, it will be a certain number of people, as Shikha was giving, or Ruchika was telling you, the concept of endorsers and committers, right? I'm not digging into that for the understanding, for the sake of ease of understanding. So whenever A wants to write that I have already paid B 10,000 rupees, he needs to obtain consensus from others. Let's say bank will validate, insurer, regulator will validate, yes, you have given, right? Once that has happened, then only A can write that entry onto the ledger. And the ledger, the copy that he has the copy of the ledger, he'll write to that entry, that ledger. The moment he writes to that ledger, the same gets replicated across all the copies on the network, like with the participant B, with the insurer, with everybody. But then that consensus is already obtained. A cannot write anything on that ledger before getting the consensus. Okay. So let's say if you have committed 10,000 rupees for, for some green cover, as Shika was giving an example, and let's say there is an NGO which bought, plants worth 5,000 rupees. So whatever activity they are doing, you're committing 10,000 rupees, again is being vetted by all the others, and it is on an immutable ledger. It cannot be changed. It cannot ever be changed, right? Similarly, that NGO which is buying 5,000 plants with some X value, that also again has to be put on this ledger, right? So those entries are validated and cannot be changed, cannot be manipulated, right? So that's the reason that trust which blockchain brings to the table. And hence, whatever money you are committing or whatever money is being utilized, the part of that money is being utilized for some, project, is being documented in an immutable manner, which has a clear, provenance, which has a clear audit trail, and which is driven by consensus of all the other participants. So there is no scope of any fudging, manipulating, anything. And hence that trust comes into play. So I guess that should answer your question, ma'am.
Yes, sir. So one more question. How we can implement in healthcare sector?
Ma'am, there are a lot of use cases in healthcare sector. Lots of them. For example, today when you go to a pathology lab, you get your test done, right? So how do these pathology labs, which basically have statistics about your health, the health record, right? How do they use it? They basically sell the data back, the back into a lot of these pharmacy companies, a lot of these, uh, you know, vendors, so that they can leverage this data in so many ways. So one clear use case is you who is generating this data, particularly health data, because this is lot there is a lot of bearing to your privacy with that data. You should be the owner of whom you want to share this data with, right? So there is one use case which basically makes you the owner, and you can decide whom you want to share this data with, right? Similarly, all these big hospital chains, healthcare chains like Fortis, like all of them. Again, the type of data they generate once there is a patient inside, the hospital, and how they utilize that is again being considered to be, available in public domain. So we are trying to have that as being a patient should have access to all of that data. How do they want to share it? With whom do they want to share it? How much do they want to share it? This is most low-hanging fruit of a blockchain in a medical environment and in a healthcare sector. And then there are so many. So in India, there is something, so not in India, basically there is something called as a cold chain in pharma, right? Which is basically used for, supply of drugs. Now in India, particularly in India, and I'm not talking about any other developing country, and we have got documentary evidence to it. Out of 10 drugs, 7 are spurious. 7 are spurious. That means 10 out of 7 drugs which are basically made available to the patients are not authentic drugs, right? So that means there is a lot more scope of people getting further ill or getting sick, or maybe because of consumption of that, because the cold chain is so much broken. Think about it. The moment you bring all of that on a blockchain based supply chain network, the cold chain is on a blockchain based system technology. What will happen? Each pharmaceutical company, the number of drugs it is producing, it's basically put on that blockchain network. Each product, each drug which is being carried to any part of the country is having some sort of a information barcode or some sort of a code there, which anybody can scan with a barcode scanner and get the exact information about when was this drug produced, which batch it is from, who approved this, or what temperature was it actually maintained till at the time you bought that drug. Everything, every bit of it, right? So this is another use case which people are already working on with, and there are so many of them in healthcare, right? There are a number of them actually. Okay.
So thank you. IBM is working on some project in healthcare.
Lot of them, ma'am, lot of them. So IBM is actually an enabler, right? We are an enabling company, so we are working with a lot of our clients, particularly enterprise clients, in terms of assisting them both in pharma companies as well as healthcare sector, to bring all of that in on blockchain. But the drug testing, people used to do this drug testing so much, I should not name anybody, but there are so many instances where the testing is not done appropriately, right? People are trying to bring all that testing on a blockchain-based system so that it becomes an immutable record, and hence a lot more, trustable record it becomes, right? So yeah, we are definitely working with a lot of them. Okay, any other question before we go further, folks?
Sir, this is Ria Sapra. I just want to ask, can patient monitoring system will be a good use case for blockchain, or should we go for cloud computing in case of patient monitoring system?
So, ma'am, it depends, right? It depends. What are the moving components in this overall scheme of patient monitoring system, right? And again, the basic answer I always say is blockchain by default is no. You should try and see what are the other mature technologies which are available. DLT again is a mature technology minus blockchain, which can again be leveraged, right? So you should definitely try and see are other technologies good enough to implement the use case that you are looking to. In case they are not, or in case you find those parameters which I gave to you at the start of this conversation, those 6-7 parameters, if you see that the use case fits in them in those category, yes, then blockchain is actually a good technology to fit in. So you should definitely evaluate a use case based upon the various parameters there that we talked about in the start of this conversation.
Mr. Dr. Madhukar, there was a small general question. Like
Sir.
we have a bouquet of IT environment services. Maybe we call it big data or IoT, or maybe in the banking sector we have another have these things. Then like blockchain, where do you place them in the whole bouquet? I mean, where does it stand? And what is the next thing, big thing which we expect to come? Because we talk a lot of IoT enabled. Maybe we have artificial intelligence as well. Machine learning is there. Then and things like that. So where the blockchain has its place in all this bouquet?
Okay, so let's try and understand this piece. Rightly pointed out from
I'm
your.
sorry, I forgot to tell cyber security. I mean, that is the one big thing,
Yes, of
Sorry.
course. Yeah. Okay, so let me try and give you an answer in a perspective. So if in case you can see if you raise your hand like this, with your palm facing downwards, it more looks like an umbrella. Okay, so cloud is like an umbrella. Okay, and all the technologies like blockchain, AI, IoT, cybersecurity, all of them are like hooks to this umbrella. Umbrella needs supporting hooks. So all of these technologies actually plug back to this cloud for enablement, right? So irrespective of whatever technology you talk about, they all come and integrate to cloud in some way or the other. Now, how do we leverage these technologies, this bouquet of technologies? So AI/ML can definitely be leveraged in terms of doing some prediction, getting some insights from the data and all, right? Cybersecurity can definitely come in there at the bottom there, which provides for more secure application to be made more secure, or to identify if people are trying to spoof on a particular application or a particular system. So all of them have their different uses, right? Big data you talk about is more about getting you insights about not just a structured data, but also unstructured data, right? IoT is more about having those sensors bringing more value to the overall scheme of things. For example, the room that you're sitting in, the AC which is being driven, the laptop which may there may be some finger sensors which will basically give you a gesture control. So all of these technologies have different use cases, different implementation, different uses. But then together, if you see, they all can fit into one project, enabling different things, right? So blockchain can bring that trust, AI/ML can bring that, or that analytics layer on top. Cyber security can bring that sort of that sort of safety or security from attacks from people intruding into the system, right? So and there can be so many other, right? Big data can again sit and try to mine the logs which are there, which are basically getting generated, so that unstructured data can be utilized in so many ways, right? So all of these technologies fits together in some other way in a particular solution, and that's what is the value of the overall bouquet, right?
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So somebody is asking about blockchain in agriculture. Yes, a lot of people are using blockchain in agriculture in so many ways. I'll give you one small example, and this example is very close to my heart. I always, really want to have it. So people in the agriculture domain, right, the farmers, they have one basic problem. They're always short of money. They do not have a huge corpus. They do not have a capital, right? So let's say if there are 100 farmers doing growing vegetables, right? And if in case we can make a chain for them, we can make an agri chain, or we can make something, and then let's say in Gurukul Kangdi, or let's say some other campus, there may be 100 families which are consuming vegetables, right? So why not those 100 families actually commit 10,000 rupees or maybe 5,000 rupees per month, on a blockchain based network, and there it will be some corpus will be raised, right? So 100 families committing 5,000 rupees per month will be almost like what, 50,000 per month. So if you see from a year perspective, it will be almost like 6 CR, right? That much money can be committed to the farmers so that they can do the produce, create the produce, use that money to cultivate, create an organic produce, and you can be the users and consumers for that based upon whatever 5,000 rupees you've already invested into it. So this can be a very good mechanism to create that sort of trust between consumers and suppliers. So suppliers get the support from consumers in terms of generating the money and also getting a visibility about the consumers, right? Because end consumer is also the one who's contributing the money. So that way, yes, crowdfunding, of course, it's so much cool to do it. It's so much, it will be fun, and it will be a lot more support to the society at large once you see that. This is one way, and then there can be so much more other use cases in agriculture, like contractual farming. So not everybody can do the farming in a scientific manner, right? So what you can do is you can actually contract these small farmers which have some 20 bigas, 10 bigas, 5 bigas, 2 bigas of land, but then they do not trust you to do the farming, right? Why would they actually give their land for you to till? So what if you bring such a platform which brings that trust, right? That whatever you commit to me, 1 biga, 2 biga, it's on a blockchain network. Even 100 years down the lane, when you will not be there, I will not be there, or our children will be there, our next generation will be there. Even they will have to be, they will have to be committed to that, whatever commitments have been made on that ledger. So that's what, right? So I just gave an example for crowdfunding for agriculture, right? As in terms of generating the corpus, or in terms of getting different small pieces together for doing a more societal farming, more society-oriented farming. Okay. Okay. If there is any other question, please unmute and talk. Otherwise, I'll just go ahead. Somebody is talking about if we have this much of transparency in blockchain, why India banned cryptocurrency. So at the start of the conversation, everybody told the audience here, we are talking about private permission blockchains. We are not talking about public anonymous permissionless blockchain. Cryptocurrency is an example which falls into the category of public permissionless blockchain, where people are doing business without disclosing their identity. And that's what is actually fueling the use of cryptocurrency, right? If you see all those cyber attacks which happen, all those malware attacks which has happened in last so many years, people have been asking for payment in cryptocurrency, right? Why? Because you would not be able to know who paid whom, right? And the money can change hands. Big money can change hands. All the payments which are happening on the dark web for buying of narcotics, or buying of lethal arms and ammunition, they're all basically done in cryptocurrency. So all the conversation which we have been doing for last 2.5 days, I would rather 3 sessions, we are doing in terms of private permissioned blockchains which are suitable for enterprise. We are not talking about public permissionless blockchains. Okay. Okay. How long blockchain will sustain? Of course, it's a big thing which is going to be there for years and years. So don't worry about that. In Twitter also they can use blockchain. They can, right? But again, one has to understand the trade-off between using a technology versus the implication. As Shikha was talking about ROI, return on investment. Whatever you're investing, how do you realize that investment back, right? That's at the core when you decide what technology should be used. Okay. How can we use blockchain between political parties funds? Yes, of course, we can use these funds should be committed on blockchain, and even I'd say the promises that they make should be the manifesto, the election manifesto should be also put on a blockchain-based network, so that they cannot go back and not say, "Oh, I did not say that." Today, people, what politicians say, "Oh, my statement was twisted and it was presented in a different manner," despite saying what they wanted to say, right? So when it is there on a blockchain-based system, they can always be shown the mirror saying that, "Look, this is what you said. And this is immutable. Nobody could have changed it," right? So it's irrecoverable. Nobody could change what you just said, right? So, of course, blockchain ensures no money laundering. So yeah, so there is a consortium in India between banks, not just Indian banks, but in even foreign banks that are part of that. They have identified some 7 use cases which are the most low-hanging. There. One of that is eKYC. Other one of that is AML, anti-money laundering, right? So people who are using those banks, there is already a blockchain-based system which is being put into place, which does, so you don't have to go to every bank doing a KYC. You did a KYC in one bank, and that's all good for opening your account in any other bank which is part of that overall bank chain. So yeah, that's how it is. Okay. Blockchain can be used for alumni fund management. Why do you want to use it for alumni fund management, right? Again, the point is this should be sparingly used where there is an amount of mistrust. I don't think alumni, sending funds to their alma mater has any amount of mistrust in that. Okay. College is not going to launder, do the money laundering with the money. Okay. Okay. Yeah, so that's the reason why it's not legal, because anonymous, no government will do that, right? Unless you bring in. So government of India tried so many ways and mechanism, even with the wallets, crypto wallets which are there in India. They are necessarily doing a KYC for the customers, right? Besides, government has also decided to tax the gains that you are receiving on top of the earnings on the crypto, right? So yeah, that's how it is. Okay.
Excuse me, Dr. Madhukar. Like this blockchain, can it be country specific? Like normally it's global. I mean it is an open kind of network. But can it be made country specific or region specific?
So let's try and understand why, in what context are you talking about, sir?
Actually, just because of the it's always a fear of security, privacy, or
There
integrity.
is no
So
such fear with a blockchain-based solution. There is no fear of integrity, security, nothing. So
okay.
all these questions are automatically answered. Besides, blockchain is suitable when you actually work with different organizations, and these organizations can be geographically at any place, India, US, Africa, wherever, right? All that has to happen is the smart contract becomes a lot more complexer because it has to deal with the legalities of different countries, different continents, right? Yeah.
And one more thing, because why I was asking was the question was that there has to be it has to be a regulated kind of service, So
No, not
regulation
at all,
becomes
sir.
difficult when it's
No,
global.
no, not at all. So that's what we said at the start. Whenever you're looking to, whenever there are gatekeepers in the system, whenever there are, regulators there, you are basically trying to have a blockchain-based system to ease their burden. I'm not saying you discount those regulators, but then to ease their burden. That's what blockchain is actually a technology. We said that at the start of the conversation, right, in the very initial slides.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. How blockchain with privacy of customers related? Yes, of course, blockchain is already being implemented with Airtel and a couple of more telecom companies, in terms of call handling and in terms of, logging about which block, uh, which uh, which cell block you are in. So that solution is always already live. Even the billing part is basically being implemented in some way. Now, the point is, again, the volume. The volume is so heavy there that not everything is suitable for blockchain as a technology today, right? So it's only a part of it which is suitable for blockchain, which is already in place. Okay. Parties involved in blockchain use, is there any criteria they should be agreed upon? Okay. So I guess, we are not getting to the point here. Let me try and, had this been a more face-to-face session, I'll be more happy to do a role play. That's how I really love doing it, with a role play. But let's try and understand this, okay? Uh, so what happens is, before you can actually do a business, you really have to set together across the table and draft the rules for doing a business, right? Who will do what in the business? What will be the payment mechanism? What will be the supply mechanism? In case you do not do this, what will be the punitive measure in case I do not make the payment in 30 days? There'll be a 10% liability penalty on me, all those. So normally all those rules have to be in place before you start doing that business. And a smart contract is nothing but all that logic, those business rules are encoded in form of a code, a program, right? And as previous speakers talked about, that a smart contract is sort of auto execution, right? Once you start the smart contract, it basically runs with whatever rules you have embedded onto it, whatever logic you have embedded onto it, right? And hence you cannot tamper with the process, even you cannot bypass the process even, right? So if there is a process, okay, so I'm not sure if you got the point, but then let me again try to bring in a perspective here. So let's say if a transporter has to deliver a product by 1st of July, right? And if they are not able to do that within the stipulated time, then there would be a SLA saying that in next 48 hours they still have the duration. If they are not able to deliver even by 3rd of July, they will pay 10% penalty. Now, all of this penalty, all of this which is happening on this network will not be manual. It is all automated with the smart contract or the chain code, right? And hence, the people whom you are going to get out of the institution, developers, are really of great importance for us, right? Because we talk to so many enterprise customers every day. There is a lot of scarcity in the market in terms of blockchain resources. And that's the reason we are trying to do more of blockchain FDPs, more of blockchain hands-on, so that you learn it and you get your students to leverage and learn all these things, so that when they come out to the job market, they are a lot more prepared, right? Yeah, so coming back to the point is, yes, so that a smart contract is automatically not, it's basically encoded with all those business logics onto it, right? So yeah, and that cannot be changed. In case you change the business process, you bring in a new flavor of smart contract again, and you roll it on top of that. Maybe you do a hard fork, you do a soft fork, depending upon whatever the the condition of the network requirement is. But then that's how it is. So it is, the smart contract is the key. Shika was asking a question in a previous session. What is the backbone of blockchain adoption? A smart contract or chain code? Is it? Okay. Somebody is asking, blockchain is used in education. Yes, blockchain is used in education big time, for putting all your credentials on a blockchain, academic credentials, experience certificates on blockchain. There are a lot of platforms around that, so that people do not have to go back and validate with the institutions. It's all on the blockchain. Yeah, it is there. Somebody's asking, is there a place where I can find all future IBM blockchain workshops? Yes, you can remain in touch. We host it on our IBM Academia portal. There are quite a learning platforms as well. I'll talk towards the end of it. Okay, so let me go further with my presentation, because we had a quite an elaborate Q&A. I guess 20 minutes almost. Let me go ahead with what I have to talk about further. Okay, and then we'll take a few more questions. Please park your questions in the meanwhile. Okay. I will skip a few slides. Please do not bother about it. Yeah, okay. So this slide is more from a architecture point of view. Somebody who is looking to do a solution architecture for a blockchain-based solution. What are the various components in a blockchain-based solution, right? So there is a fabric tier, there is an integration tier, there is a shared services, there is a utility service, and there is an analytics section, right? So in case you can see this infograph, it details it beautifully, okay? So if you try to read it from, from maybe left side of the infograph, so you see that access channels and system, enterprise systems, right? So the example which Shikha was, even Ruchika was showing you yesterday, there is a client application which is talking to the blockchain-based system through a SDK, maybe a Node SDK, or maybe a Java or a Python or whatever SDK. So there is a client application which is, I'm just blowing that diagram further, right? So if you see that, there is a client application which is basically an enterprise system which is talking to endorser or a committer using that Node, Node.js app or REST API it talks about. So all of this event communication is happening in form of events, right? There are API calls happening back and forth between the various, participants on this network, right? And there are some endorser nodes, there are some orderer nodes, and then there are some off-chain store as well, right? So blockchain cannot be an entire solution in its own. There will be some off the blockchain, database repositories as well, right? A typical conventional Oracle or a SQL server may also plug into there, right? So that's also possible, right? So let's say you're talking about a land registry, land record management system, right? So you cannot put the entire map on the blockchain. You need not put it there, right? You can actually put the map or the other thing on a conventional storage, and you can bring the hash of that on the blockchain, on the CouchDB or a LevelDB to store that, to ensure that the integrity of the document is maintained. Similarly, for academic record, you need not bring the entire record on a blockchain system. Maybe you update the record, upload the record in some other data store, and you only bring the hash of the document on a blockchain-based system. So depending upon various use cases, the implementation varies, right? So this is what is a typical logical architecture, which is a high-level overview of the overall system, okay? This is for the more detailed view. I'm not getting into it because this is not the focus of our conversation right now. So I'll skip through a few pieces here, okay? Yeah, so let's come on to this piece, right? We just talked about this, right? Requirement of trust, business problem to solve, identifiable risks, okay. So let's say we have developed a new solution in India, okay? A wonderful new solution in India. And I want to take that solution now to a US market. Now, why would a US market trust my solution, right? There has to be some factor, right, which should be unique, which should infuse the trust in the end customer, right? So blockchain can be one technology which can really sort of excite the customers, because that brings that inherent trust to the platform, right? it basically has compliance built into it. It reduces the overall risk, overall cost of the system as well, right? So all of that is there. Oh yeah, so okay, so what I'll do is I'll actually change my deck. I will move on to another deck, which will basically talk about some solutions which are already live in the market. Okay, let me get started with this. Okay, so first is the food trust system. Okay, this is one of my favorite live solutions which is out there in the market. Now, each time when you go out and you buy something from the food store, maybe a vegetable or maybe a fruit or maybe a fish or whatever non-vegetarian case you are a consumer of it, you could never ever ensure the freshness or the quality of the product, right? You will only be able to believe what the seller is saying. Okay, this was caught 2 days before. This product, this cucumber is very fresh. We this got this morning only. This was picked up. But then there is no way you can actually vet it. You can check it, right? That's the reason. That's the reason 1 out of 10 people actually get sick every year because of foodborne illnesses. That's one of the most prominent reasons of people getting ill because of consuming food which is not fit to be consumed. One. Two, because there is no transparency in the entire food chain. You see, whenever there is a lot of rains happening in all these FCA godowns, a lot of grains get wasted. It all it gets wet and then it is all thrown out. And at the same time, there are hundreds and hundreds of people who have to sleep without any proper food because they do not have money to buy those grains. See the disparity, see the mismatch. Had there been a system which could have brought in that transparency, okay, this much is the grains available in the overall system. These many are the people who need free food or who cannot pay for the money for the grains. So instead of that money, that grains going waste, we could have actually given those to those people, right? Instead of that being rotting in the open, getting wet and getting rotten, we could have actually given it away. People would have consumed it. But then that's not the case, and that is same for even other pieces. A lot of fresh food is actually thrown because you do not know whether it's consumable or not. It's not consumable. Similarly, I was talking about the non-vegetarian items, right? So seafood is not something which is a lot of mislabeled, right? So you would not know where is this fish caught from, whether it's a freshwater fish or it's a sea fish. Unless you are a very seasoned buyer, you would not be able to know the difference. And at least you will not be able to know about the freshness quotient of that fish. What temperature was it stored when it was caught? How long was it? How long back it was caught, and all that stuff, right? And they all basically contribute to the overall foodborne illness in a lot of ways, right? That's where food trust systems actually brings in a lot of transparency. This is the conventional system, again on the same lines, be it restaurants, retailers, growers, market manufacturers, logistic providers, right? There is no transparency. People just are sort of working in dark, right? They have their own isolated silos, databases which they are playing with, right? What blockchain-based system again has brought in is one unified platform where everybody is sharing the same information. It's an independent data sharing platform which people will trust. Why trust? Because it's powered by blockchain, right? There is a transparency, there is immutability, and there is a easy dispute resolution in case it arises, because everybody has the same visibility of the truths, and everybody has the same copy of the ledger. So that's when 2 years back, IBM came up with this solution called Food Trust, along with a few more partners like Walmart, Nestle, Driscoll, Carrefour. These are our partners who are already onboarded on this. This is actually based on Hyperledger Fabric, which has an open governance model of data ownership, membership, a lot of security. Somebody was talking about how these various bouquet of technology fits in, right? So all that security, reliability, scalability, even AI components are built on top of this system, right? And what this provides for is overall ecosystem where every partner is onboarded on the same network, right? So if you see there are food retailers also on this market. There are logistic providers who are also onboarded on the supply chain. The manufacturers are also there. The wholesale distributors are also there. So it is a lot more transparent. People know what is available in which quantity, how old it is, right? So depending upon what sort of product are they catering or what sort of customers they are catering, I'll give you a small example. Let's say Walmart caters to only high class customers. High class, I mean premium paying customers, right? So what they will do is they will actually buy the A plus quality of product, right? At the same time, in market has all sorts of product, right? A plus plus, A minus, B plus, B minus, because there are consumers for almost all categories of food item, right? So and but everybody has to be entertained. You can't say that I'll only. So maybe Walmart maybe for only A plus customers, but then there is a future retail store which is for A or B plus or B minus customers as well, sort of a client as well, right? And there can be so much more derivatives of this particular. But then that transparency or that visibility is only possible when everybody of this is onboarded on some such platform where you have entire visibility about who is producing what is available, what quantity is it available, what quality is it available, when does, because these are all perishable goods. Food unless consumed in certain X hours or X days will perish. So in case you can bring it on some such platform, people can consume it before it actually the quality deteriorates, and hence it becomes a lot more healthy consumption of the food. Right now there are a lot of people are using it in so many ways. Carrefour is using it for antibiotic free chickens. A couple of coffee farmers platform is using it for validating the beans, where they are generating for what is the journey of the coffee bean. Walmart is using it for leafy vegetables. GSF is using it for basically fresh beef, and there are so many ways, right? So as I was telling you, this platform is just 2 years old. In 2H of 2018, it got evolved, and since then we have got almost like 150 plus global members on this platform. So next time when you go to a Europe or you go to a China and you pick up a product from there, one of these Walmart showrooms or one of these Nestle, and you scan the barcode there, you can get the entire audit trail of that product, right when it was reared from the ground, how long the journey took from the ground to the retail store, what temperature was it maintained in the cold storage, what temperature was it maintained in the transit. Every detail will be available there, right? So almost like 6 million food products are already onboarded with 12 million plus transactions on IBM food chain. Okay, and these are just a few more details about it, which I already told you about, right? What is the benefit? Let's try and understand what's the benefit. Now, this all started a couple of years back when there was an E. coli outbreak in one of these Walmart showrooms in US because of consumption of contaminated cabbage. And Walmart was not able to figure out the same batch, where all does the same batch exist, which all stores, which all quantity, where did it actually come from. It took almost weeks for them to have that entire trail identified. Compared to that, a particular a food trust based supply chain, it almost takes a few seconds, maybe a minute and a second, in order to identify one particular batch, where is it there, right? Okay. So this is another example called TradeLens, where IBM and Maersk, which is again a leader in the container trade on high seas, we came together and we made this solution called TradeLens. This is really again helping streamlining a lot of global supply chains, where it is improving the container logistics, right? The containers, particularly on the high seas, the document handling, the consignment visibility, shipment workflows, which is really a lot of paperwork. So almost like $16 trillion in goods are shipped on high seas every year, using containers. And 80% of these goods are basically used daily, daily consumption products, which are basically used, and there is a continuous increase of 15% annually in this, right? And what has happened right now is, I'll give you one small example just to clarify this better. So assume there is a ship full of crude oil which starts sailing from somewhere in Africa, and it's going from Africa to maybe some place in Taiwan, okay, that crude oil, and in the transit, so that ship will take something like 4 to 5 weeks in the transit from Africa to Taiwan, and in the transit it will dock in, let's say, three different ports. Maybe when it's starting from south of Africa, it basically docks somewhere in Tanzania towards north of Africa. and it goes further towards Malacca, Strait of Malacca, and then further, right? It docks in different ports. At each port, it is offloading some X quantity of fuel. It is selling on that port. And what will happen is, when the ship started to sail from Africa, the entire documentation was prepared with some X gallons, X million gallons of fuel. So that X million gallons would be valued at Y million dollars. I'm just throwing some numbers, right? And that Y million dollars product value will be insured by some insuring company, by some insurance policy. And there would be some documents which will be generated by the port authority in whatever South Africa or whatever port in Africa it got started from. So when it docks in the first port, it offloaded, let's say, delta X gallons of fuel there. So the quantity of fuel changed. The moment the quantity of fuel changed, the entire documentation will change. There will be some banking transaction. That means bank documents will also change, because money has to be made available, paid to the vendor for the payment of that delta X gallons of fuel. The insurance value will change. New insurance documents will come into place. Now there is a new country where the ship is docked, so the new regulations will be there compared to what was there in the parent dock. So trying to understand, right? So much a maze of documents, that's what this talks about, right? And so much paperwork will happen between so many stakeholders, right? From port authority, to so many people there, right? Customs there, the carriers there, the terminal there, the banks there, right? All of them. What TradeLens really helped doing was bringing all of these stakeholders on a same network. So they're all on the same network today, right? And all of those business regulations, how to do business, how to do payment, how much of payment to be made to the ship owner once the product is downloaded, offloaded. All of that is being encoded in the smart contract, keeping in mind the local legal issues. Okay, and when you do that, it's actually going to be a very complex procedure, but then that is already in place. What really makes it easy is that much more. So once the ship had to dock on a port, it would spend something like 5 to 7 days in that dock, offloading the fuel and getting the new documentation generated, because that much time will take in terms of generating the new document. But then with this sort of a arrangement, the document could be generated maybe in a few hours compared to days. And that's what is the value. So that means the ship can quickly go back to the sea to start sailing for the next port. And hence the transition time, which was almost like 4 to 6 weeks, reduced to almost like 2 weeks, between some place in South Africa to some place in Taiwan. And that much more efficient the overall system becomes. The ship gets freed so much more early. That means it can again go back and start its life, its sailing with some other produce from some other port. So much more money which had to be paid to different stakeholders gets paid so much more early. So you see the benefits there. That's what is the benefit of bringing transparency to the overall business system, bringing all these stakeholders together on a network, right? On a blockchain based network, right? And since there is inherent trust, nobody can quiz, nobody can have an iota of doubt on that, and hence business becomes a lot more easier, a lot more seamless, right? And yeah, so there are just a few more slides about it. So this again is started from January 2018, and right now, this is there's almost like 5 to 6 of the 6 carriers which are already part of the TradeLens, which are the biggest carriers right now, right? Including Namsung, including Boluda, including PIL, including Maersk, including Safmarine, Hamburg, Sealand, and all of those. Okay. Yeah, so we just talked about there are so many ecosystem participants, carriers, government authorities, operators, shippers, freight forwarders, financial bodies, port operators, all of them have been onboarded on this, right? Now see this, TradeLens actually has already, have 700 billion events fired in a year, right? Last 2 years, each year we're talking about almost like 5.5 million documents, right? And this will really add up in due course of time, right? So yeah, it is basically trying to ease the overall, transportation in due course of time. Right now, these are all the participants of this system together. They're onboarded on TradeLens. All these governments are already on board on this TradeLens, right? So because this is where the different, the ships with these carriers will be docking and offloading or doing some business there, right? So these governments are already being onboarded on the entire documentation is already taken care of, right? And it's actually a very painstaking process, including the legalities of every every different country, right? It's not easy. Okay, so I'll quickly go, and then this is another use case. Now what I'll do is again stop here, and I will try to entertain a few questions, guys. Let's have our questions. Okay, I'll first look for the chat. What questions do we have it here? Tens of thousands of judgment which happen in Supreme Court or a special or different high courts of different states, right? So that sort of an engine is already being developed and being put, which can help the judges and take a more viable or a more judicial, more rational judgment. It's already basically coming up in place. It's already there. It had been there in US and they started using it for the so normally when a case comes to the judge for granting a bail, right? So they already have a AI based system which suggests a judge whether this offender should be given a bail or not. However, the discretion of giving the bail remains with the judge. The system only helps him, sort of understand whether it's a high risk parole jumper or he's a low risk parole jumper, and should he be given a bail or not. So the such systems have already been there in few countries. Okay, somebody's talking about healthcare. We already talked about that. The research part, there is a lot of that we talked about in 2 sessions as well. Okay, we'll talk about that later on. There is even an ATM machine for Bitcoin, by the way. Yes, there is a friend of mine. I'm not sure if you know, but then there is a wallet in India who put that ATM machine in Bangalore. The very first day when he put that ATM machine in Bangalore, the same night the police picked him up and he got arrested for that. So it's not legal so far, right? So unless the government makes the instrument legal, he couldn't have done that. That guy, a close friend, is basically that's a startup in Bangalore who owns a wallet in India. But yes, there was in countries like European countries and US, yes, there are ATM machines for buying cryptocurrencies. Yes, that is there. High frequency intraday data handle? No, of course not. That's what is, so when Shika was talking about, or Ruchika was talking about, they talked about some 2K to 5K transactions per second, TPS per second, right? Is what is the Fabric is still able to achieve for some place like say exchanges, right? The stock exchanges where like millions of transactions per second, where people really want to try and utilize blockchain, they can't because the technology is not mature as yet which can handle such sort of data. High volumes of data are not supported by blockchain as a technology right now. Okay. Somebody's talking about client server secure document sharing. Why do you want to use blockchain there? You can anyways do it in another ways also, right? So you have a document uploaded somewhere, you take a hash code of the document and you share that hash on a secure ledger or some way, so that the document, if anyways tampered, you can always match the hash of the tampered document and say that this document is no more valid because it's been tampered with, it's been volubly manipulated with, right? IBM offers internship of projects. Yes, we do offer that. You can go to the career site of IBM India, ibm.com/career. You can see for there. Check it there. How to integrate IoT blockchain using Hyperledger Fabric. Any practical example available? Yes. Shikha gave you a link of developer.ibm.com/patterns. So if you go to that link, there are a lot of use cases, ready to use samples, already code patterns are available which talk about integration of IoT and blockchain. Is it useful in voting system? Yes, there is a country called Estonia which has made the entire everything voting on blockchain. It's already, they have made it live. Even other countries are looking to use it for blockchain for voting. Corporations are using blockchain for voting in the governing council meetings and all. Yes, they are trying to do that. So this is already up and live. By using a smart contract, both IoT blockchain. How blockchain will be used in military? So, well, I don't get the context of the question. Is the certification on blockchain for free? Yes, there are few free certification, and then there are few paid ones as well. The paid ones are very low cost, almost like 2,500 Indian rupees. So yeah, that's it. Okay, so if there is any other further question which is not here, please unmute yourself and ask it. Then I can go further with something more that I have to discuss. Any further questions, folks? How much costly are blockchain transaction in terms of energy? Look, we are not talking about mining here. We are not talking about cryptocurrency. So all that concept of mining and consumption of energy is from a crypto point of view. For an enterprise application, the private permission blockchain point of view, there is no concept of mining, and hence there is no consumption of energy. Okay, it's a typical convention consumption that we use. Academically, yes, blockchain can be used in big time, not just for academic credentials. For okay, let's try and understand, because you and me both belong to the same side of the table, right? So in academia, there is a lot of hue and cry about various things: attendance, allocation of marks for sessionals, so many things, right? And each time we end up manipulating, whether we have to, push the students up to the 80% bracket of attendance, or we have to make them pass in some way, all of that, and even the academic credentials, right? So a lot of universities are already using blockchain-based degrees. University of Hoboken, a lot of places in India also tried their hands with it. There are some third-party vendors which are providing platform where you can put your educational qualifications on a blockchain-based system, which are validated at the back end with the university only once, and then they can be, you can share the credentials with other your employers, prospective employers, or prospective universities out of India, if you are looking to study abroad, which can validate the your credentials at the back end with the platform. So that sort of use cases are already live. Okay, concept of forks and Hyperledger. There's no concept of forks and Hyperledger, right? There's definitely the concept of version. So initially we had something called as O.6, which was powered by PBFT, Practical Byzantine Fault Tolerance Method, which was the consensus mechanism, in the first version of Hyperledger Fabric. Then came Hyperledger Fabric 1.0, and then now in January we have Hyperledger Fabric 2.0, which basically supports SBFT, which supports these ordering mechanisms like Apache Kafka and NoOps. Okay. Okay. So if there is any further question, please park it for now. I'll move on to the next piece of my conversation today, which is basically aimed at how you can learn, okay, blockchain, because all that we have talked about, and I don't want to get into technology any further, because this session is more like easing out into blockchain. You already dug deep, your heels deep into blockchain in last 2.5 days, right? So this session is more about addressing your concerns, more like addressing your queries that might have arrived in last 2.5 days, in case they have left out, or you have afterthought, you want to talk about that, you want to ask that. So we'll have all of those. As a last part of my conversation today, I will basically, share a small deck which is about how do you learn blockchain, right? Which are the avenues where you can learn blockchain. So this is where I will take another some 15 minutes on that, and then we can again open the floor for question and answers. So IBM offers two avenues, folks on the call for blockchain, for that matter, any technological learning. Let me share the URL. Let me share that, just a moment. Okay. Okay. So this is IBM Academic Initiative portal, folks, and this is very important and very relevant for people in academia, for faculties, for students alike. Okay. So let's try and understand what is being offered here. So IBM Academic Initiative platform is primarily aimed at people from academia, students and faculty members, where we offer them a lot of technology to learn. Okay, what all things we offer them to learn? What are broad topics? Let me show you that. So there are nine topics over here. One is IBM Cloud. Another is data science, security, quantum computing, life cycle engineering life cycle, ELM, IBM System Z. This is what was earlier the mainframes. We now have System Z, which basically are there. Okay, just a moment. Okay, and then there is something called as power systems. These are typically, this is a non-conventional system architecture, which is particularly suited for big data analytics. This is a very different architecture. There are separate power machines for that, which basically provide for high level of multitasking, parallel computing, parallel processing, and basically come in different flavors, right? So this is the entire details are about that here. And other than this, we have blockchain as a technology to learn over there, and then an IBM Watson. So in today's context, let's say what is available on blockchain, in case I have to learn on this platform. By the way, the academic initiative is completely free of cost for you to learn, leverage, and then get access to. All you need to do is you need to register with an institutional email ID. Means you need to have a college provided email ID. You cannot use it with a Gmail, Hotmail, or Rediff mail ID. You need to have a college powered email ID to access the contents here. Now, what is offered here? Okay, let me show you. Maybe let's say in case you want to learn data science. Let me just click on learn more. Okay, and let's see what do we get. So in case you are registered here, what do you get by registering here? Okay, one is you get a lot of software free of cost to download from here. Okay, software like iLog, like SPSS Modeler, like Cognos Analytics, a lot of them, hundreds of them actually, which you can download for free from here. Number one. Number two, you get a lot of courseware which you can really leverage from here, which is again offered free of cost for everybody to learn. Okay. So yeah, so I just opened one link, you will see it in a while. So there's a lot of courseware you can download from here, a lot of content which is offered free of cost for you to learn. It's all free, by the way, whatever I'm showing you right now. Then associated with these courses, there are a lot of digital badges which you can obtain. Now, how do you tell the world that you know some technology or something, right? Depending upon what level do you know, whether it's a foundation level or an intermediate level or an advanced level, you have got badges here. Okay. So for example, these are foundation level badges. It says data science foundation level badges, right? Similarly, there's a badge on Python for data science, right? So different badges are there. So we are talking about data science as of now, right? Let me dig into the blockchain space, right? Let's say, since we're talking about blockchain, what is offered on blockchain here, for learning. Okay, let me show you. So there are a couple of these. There is a blockchain website where you can go and learn. There's a ebook, Blockchain for Dummies, which you can go and you can download for free and start learning. You can also, there is a link for Hyperledger Fabric. From here, there's a landing page where you can actually go and download the Fabric. It anyways is available for free. There are a few courses also available. One of us, there is a courseware for developing for blockchain developers. There is a course, then there is a course for blockchain essentials, which you can freely access from here, right? So I'll just maybe I can just click on this and see, we'll go on to another page here. Okay, and okay, so I'll just quickly go back. Okay, and there are again digital badges associated with this learning, right? So there's a digital badge for whatever we talked about, right? Blockchain essentials, there is a badge for foundation developers. That's what I said. So there is a courseware, and once you complete the courseware, there is a badge associated, and this is all free of cost, guys. This badge is like, you watch a few videos, you do a few hands-on exercises, you answer a few quizzes there, and you get this badge, right? So it's as easy as that, right? And then you can also explore careers on IBM, from this portal itself. And then this is available across 7-8 technologies, as I told you, right? 9 technology domains for you to learn. So this is one platform where you can go learn on your own. You can, even bring in your students. It's free for everybody. You see this? I was giving you this link, right? So how do you actually start working with data science, right? How do you start creating a project? It's so much easy. It gives you a complete step-by-step approach, even with the snapshots. It'll also give you commands, as Shikha was showing you in a previous session, right? It'll run you through the entire steps in a very methodical way. All that you do is religiously follow the steps, and you'll be able to do this. So for example, this particular is for churn analysis, right? So the data set is also made available here. See this? Customer churn.csv, which you can download from here. And you can start, building your own model. How do you actually create a model? Everything is given there. All that you have to do is you start learning, put, all of this, entire commands are given there, what changes you have to make in case you have to make any changes, everything is given there, right? How do you use a visual recognition? All of that, along with data set and all, everything is being given here, right? And by the way, this is all offered free. The entire portal academic initiative is free. All that you need to have is an institutional email ID. So this is one approach of learning. Second, in case you want to, dig deep, your heels deeper into technology, right? So this is what I'm going to talk to you about in my next deck. Right. So we have a program called Skills Academy. In this program, we offer deep technology skills in various domains. I'll just quickly show that to you. Right. And why am I talking to you about this is because of this, right? Because there's a World Economic Forum survey, which you can always go and look for this. By 2022, 54% of existing employees will require reskilling and upskilling. You see a lot of these, companies, asking people to reskill or lose their jobs. Now, this is actually the reality of the day, and nobody knows it better than you and me. In academia, unless you keep on learning, unless you keep on adding something new, you'll not be able to deliver fresh content in the class, because the students have become a lot more, they're smarter, a lot more smarter with all these gadgets around. So much information is available at their beck and call, right? So they keep learning, they keep educating themselves. So unless, as a teacher, we keep on upgrading ourselves, will not remain relevant, right? So not just in academia, in industry also, we need to reskill ourselves, and hence, the need for some such programs. So Skills Academy is one program where we have, launched a lot of these courses, where we say that we will build digital practitioners. Now, what are these digital practitioners? Digital practitioners are the one who not only have some theoretical knowledge, but then they also do a lot of group work. They also do some labs. They also do some projects. And together, what we build is a digital practitioner. Okay, so right now this particular program is, offered across different technology domains. We have courses in, in AI, in data science, in IoT, in cloud computing, in blockchain, in cybersecurity, in design thinking, in quantum computing, right? So all of these courses are already available. These are all 75 to 80 hours of courses, which are having three major components. One is there is some 30 to 35% of theoretical learning. There is another 30 to 35% of practical labs. And then there is another concept of 20% to 35%, which is all about group work, projects, right? Design thinking and all of that stuff, right? How we typically engage with them is, with you is, we basically teach the faculties, we basically want to teach the faculties, because that's a more sustainable way of doing things, right? So we educate the faculties, and the faculties, in fact, go back and educate the students on their own pace. Okay, so we do elaborate, learning, 2 to 3 week learning for faculty members, since it's all online these days. So it's like, 2 hours a day for 3 weeks. We do these faculty boot camps, and then and this is not free, by the way, folks. Let me put that straight to you. It comes with a very nominal cost, though, but then it comes with the cost of 2,500 rupees per person plus 18% taxes, right? And once the faculties are trained, they can go back and then they can teach their own students at their own pace. Again, and everything, there's this token amount which is put up there, right? At the end of it, when you are completed the thing, as a faculty, you get an instructor badge. Okay, let me show that to you. As a faculty, you get an instructor badge. For example, if you're doing an AI course, this is the badge that you get. You cannot teach the students before you actually get this instructor badge after completing whatever is part of that course. Similarly, in case you're doing a blockchain one, this is the instructor badge for blockchain practitioners. So you need to, get that before you can go back and teach. Now, when you are done with that, when you actually go and teach your students, this is what the student gets: the blockchain practitioner badge. And as part of every course, you have to obtain a design thinking badge as well, the one you see at the bottom, the green one as well, right? Which is a mandatory. So IBM believes in, in giving you a more holistic approach of a technology basis on how will you use this technology in a project, right? So it's not that you just put yourself and start coding to create a project, right? There is a complete science before you actually start coding. There is something called as design thinking, right? So we try to get into that mode of understanding the requirements, identifying the hills, identifying the MVP. Once we have identified the MVP, then we start into development of project, right? So that entire process is basically the design thinking process, which helps in understanding how do you create a project, how do you create a solution. So that's also a part of all of these technology courses. Okay. Yeah. So these are these courses. Yeah, and there are various technologies as I told you about. We also directly go and do training through our business partners for the students. Even that is there. That comes with some X amount of cost. But these are the broad 8 areas where we have these courses, up and running. This is pretty new in India. We just rolled it out in second quarter. That means only last month. This is a global initiative got launched in 2019 Q4. That is around December 2019. So it is pretty recent. The courses are pretty updated, in terms of content, and they are regularly updated with whatever technology upgradations happen at the back end. So you can be ensured that whosoever is doing these courses, they are actually getting access to the updated content in terms of technology, lab exercises, every bit of it. Okay. So let me stop myself here, and I'll be happy to actually take your questions here. Please go on. Let me see if there are any questions. Give me a second. Okay, so here you can find both the links. You can copy the links, you can take a snapshot, you can capture it, whatever works good for you. Let me open up the chat window to see what all questions are there pending for me. You could just scroll through them. Look for academic initiative. To access that, you need an institutional email ID. There is no other way to do it. In case you do not have, please request your college. You can tell them what is the